Okay. Hey. Hello, everyone. Melissa, I hope we didn't talk these up too much. It really is just us all chatting about an app. I usually try to walk you through one, and we'll pause as we go along and ask questions. Hey, Kavita. This one's a little different because it is something that some people have started with. So we'll go from the basics just to get started, but then we want to kind of build on that and take some of your questions, your ideas, some pieces we're learning. I had an aha moment today, and I have something that even Mel hasn't seen yet. Oh, Vanessa, haven't seen it yet. I have to subscribe to Apple TV, and I know if I start, I probably won't remember to unsubscribe, but I can't wait for the animation. I really need to watch it this weekend. Awesome, Diana. And I know you've already started. So definitely as we go along, I'm just going to be sharing some tips and tricks. This is also the time to say Mel and I do them differently. So these are just share your tips as we go along, what's been working for you, and all of that jazz. So thank you guys for introducing yourselves. Thanks for finding the comments. If you haven't, up here, I think, up in your corner, or that way, either way, you should see your YouTube account, which is just a Gmail account. So if you have Google for Education or a Gmail account, you can just log in and be able to comment and give that feedback. So tonight we're looking at choice grids. Melanie and I did a session last night. Hey, Michelle, for Can Code to Learn. Hopefully I got that right, Mel. Yep. I'm on a roll. I'm going to have another sip of Coca-Cola because that maybe will make this better. So if you want a more polished version of this evening, you can watch their webcast and we go into more detail about the project. But for tonight, we thought we'd really focus more on that creation piece. But as people are joining and as we get started, what led us to choice grids at this time was really just a long list of links and how could we make sense of it. I know for me, I'm a very visual learner, so the long list kind of feels overwhelming sometimes. Having that visual is just a great provocation. And I find the hardest part is the curation, because finding those really purposeful links, it's kind of like finding paired text in the classroom, right? How do you find those two perfect things that fit together? And it's never perfect. We always get that feedback from our learners, and then we tweak it based on their interests and that piece. I know I've been trying to be a bit more thoughtful about which pieces we're bringing in. Yesterday we talked about Lego and bringing in Iko Namako's beautiful work. And I need to, hopefully I'm saying his name right. And Melanie always jumps in and reminds us about copyright, which I'm terrible at, and she's much better at reminding us about some of those pieces. And yes, Jill, it's real. This is when you know it's really me, when there's Coca-Cola.
Is this where I'm supposed to jump in and talk about copyright, Tina?
You can as I get ready. So it was funny because Mel and I have been talking about copyright, and it is confusing because there's 10% rules, and then there's books, and then so many people record stuff on YouTube, and we don't know where they got permission or if they got permission. So Mel has some really cool guidelines, and for me, I just keep thinking, is it their stuff? So if the person that's posted it created it themselves, then I know I'm giving them credit. Or if it's an author and they're reading the book, especially on something like CBC, or Michelle Obama reading some of the Penguin books. I can't remember which publishing company she's working with. Again, I know there's some street cred there, and I can do it with confidence. So for us tonight, here's our plan. We're going to go through the page setup and changing some of those up. We want to talk about a couple ways of adding images. I know some folks have been using Bitmojis and the extension and that piece. There's an emoji keyboard built into Google Slides or any of the Google apps, so just highlighting that today too as an option. I know we use the Noun project, and unfortunately, settings keep changing. So now people can't add that extension. So it's always a piece you can kind of check out. I'm going to show the transparent shapes. This was a funny part with Mel and I last night. We talked about the fact she doesn't use them. I obsess about them. I have a problem. So definitely you don't have to use them, but it's kind of just showing you those possibilities. Looking at links, and we're going to look also at bringing in links for interaction, bringing in a form to get them to do that final reflection, bringing in, linking to a check-in in Google Classroom, how we can bring that piece in and how we can balance that out, and hopefully we can have a chat about that. And then some of the sharing options. And I know we've had some issues when we're sharing choice grids from other boards. And I think it's because some of our students have been limited to only see things that have been created in Peel. So that PDF option, we'll take a second look at that tonight. But as we switch over to Google Slides, what are some of the things you're hoping for us to chat about tonight? Do you want to post your questions in the comments? Again, I have no concept of position here of where things should go. So if there's something you're dying to hear tonight, of course, we're going to go check it out over time. But yeah. Any questions before we get started? And sorry if, just gonna post the updated link again. Everybody's been all right so far? How to make a choice board. We will do that. Publishing on web versus posting as a link. Awesome, we'll get to that too. All of it sounds great. Awesome, Lisa. And this link worked for everyone, right? How do kids submit work? Yeah, we're gonna look at a couple ways to do that, Leanne, because that's definitely a question. If you're not able to ask questions, make sure you're logged into the YouTube up in the top corner. An assessment, yeah, that's definitely one of the big questions. And I think the hardest part for the assessment is there's going to be so many different options, right? And finding that option that works for our kids. So still, YouTube is not liking me. We picked the one day for YouTube to crash. All right, perfect, Diana. We can talk about that. Don't let me forget that when we get into links.
Tina, would you like me to help you with the chat window?
Sure.
I'm the perfect sidekick today.
All right, so we're gonna start at the beginning and the basics. Mel, you can also keep me on time when I mess up the timing and I get way carried away. Okay, so for tonight, I thought we'd keep it nice and simple. And I actually have curated this collection of links around, I hate that Google doesn't just use my tools. There we go. Maybe you'll get to see it a bit more. There. Just a mindfulness reset for us adults, just as an example. So I'm going to go into Google and I'm going to create a new Google slide. Now, here's a trick. A lot of times we go to Google Docs, but whenever I'm designing, I always use my slide tools. So I love designing in Keynote, in slides. I actually prefer Keynote for things that are really design heavy. The reason for that is I just have complete control over the page. I'm not limited by the flow of text. So it's a great little piece that helps out. But yeah, we're using slides today, but if you're more of a Keynote fan, I'm sure you could do it in PowerPoint. It's not my tool, but lots of options there. The other thing is, I find when it looks like a traditional slide, kids or adults think they have to interact like a traditional slide. So that's why I like to reset the page size. So if I click here on File and go to Page Setup, there's a couple different options. The basic ones there, let me zoom in here. Maybe that will help us out. Nope, of course not. Hey, maybe. I have my basic options here, but I can actually go to custom. And in custom, I can set any parameters. So a lot of times I'll do 8 by 10, so that if I export it as a PDF, families could even print it out if they wanted to, or I could print it out and drop it off. For this one, I'm just going to make it a square because I have 6 links, and I'm going to apply. So there we go. I have my square. I'm ready to go. Again, I'm a little picky. Melanie and I talked about this yesterday. I love designing things, and I get a little carried away. So I use tools like Color to give me color schemes and color swatches. You don't have to get that fancy. It's really up to you how fancy or how simple you want to get. So I like to make sure that theme-wise they kind of differ. So I'm just going to come in here. I need to zoom out again now. This is the one we say that these are moments of messy and authentic learning. It's definitely not polished. So in custom, I can drop that code in. And I have my nice blue calm color. So I have my page. I want to get those boxes now. And the reason you can really use different things. Yesterday, we had someone ask about why I don't use tables. Personally, for me, I just really like the consistency of having those boxes and just that space in between. It feels like each object is its own entity. But really, again, it's finding what works for you, for your workflow, and what works for your learners. So I have my shape. I'm going to change this shape already. And I'm actually going to make these black so that the contrast is better for visibility. I'm going to make that transparent. Now, I'm lazy most of the time, so I'm going to copy. So I just use my Command-C on my Mac. However you like to copy is up to you. And I'm just going to space these friends out. And most of you probably know this, but if you want to copy them all at once, click on your first shape, hold the Shift button down, and keep clicking. And it will copy them all so that I can copy and paste. And I really quickly get my 2 rows. So I have that option of really creating quickly. Again, it's a little off balance, and you could completely let this go. But of course, I have a problem, and I need to balance that out there. Have you guys all been using your copy and shift? Do people have other strategies that they're using as they go along? Just checking to see if we have any questions here. All right. So my grid's ready. Now comes the fun part. I want to bring in my text and bring in the different pieces. I usually start with my text just because it is harder to set up. And I found when I first started doing the choice grids, I didn't have a one-liner that kind of explained what it was about. And over time, I really needed to have that kind of, just that prompt, even if parents are helping out. I'm going to put that in bold so it stands out a bit more. And on your, I'll show that again. And sorry, it's so small. Let me zoom in here a bit. Okay, maybe that will be a bit better for us so we can see the keys. So a couple things. Shift, just the button you use on your keyboard to create capital letters. If you click on an object, it selects just that one. But I don't want to sit there and have to keep selecting. So if I hold the Shift button down, which I would use to make my capital letters, I can then keep clicking and it will select them all. The alternative is to hold your Shift button down and draw a box around them, and that will select them all too. It just makes that editing a bit faster for you. To change the font size, up on the top toolbar here, you have your different fonts. There's only a few fonts in Google Slides, which sometimes seems limiting, but you can actually add more fonts. I usually have 2 or 3 that I always go to just because they're clean, like Avenir is a nice, clean font to use. But yeah, everybody has their favorites and what works for what you're creating at that time. So like I said, usually I would put in another box just that gives them some instructions. Take a moment to reset and then check in with the class. So I'm highlighting it again and changing that font so it just stands out. And it provides a little bit of instruction for them. Oh, the page size. Okay, sorry about that. If you're in File and you go down to Page Setup down here, you have your typical slide screen settings that are just a more square slide and a wider screen. But if you go to custom, then you can change those settings to whatever you like. I love that it works in inches, so I just usually do an 8x10. I usually do it first because if I did it now, it would stretch everything out. But you can change it over time. Looks good so far. Thanks, Leanne. I'm just gonna wait here. Like, if you're following along and exploring, and you have any other questions, drop them in the box. We can take them as we go along. One thing that I'm trying to be more conscious about as I'm designing is really the contrast in colors. So one thing we noticed with colors, let's see if I can get it into the full view. Open in the generator, there we go. Is that sometimes it's we don't really realize how much accessibility is related to colors. And it's a hard conversation to have because for me, colors help me navigate. And I know that's a big piece for some of our learners. For others, sometimes it gets in the way. So a tool like colors actually shows me how different types of color blindness will interpret those colors. And I just lucked out that this color scheme is pretty awesome and doesn't change them up that much. All right, coming back into Google Slides, for the squares, if we go along the toolbar here on the top, if you go to your shapes, it's just over from the text and the image option. In shapes, I can come into shapes and grab my square rectangle, and then I just draw it out. One of the things that's really helpful as you're designing, if something moves, you get these red lines. Those are my guidelines, so they'll help me snap things right back into place, almost. There we go. Now again, for me, I just found it's easier to draw that one shape, get it up to par the way I want it using my fill bucket and taking off the border color. Instead of trying to draw 6 different shapes, they never end up being the same size. So copying and pasting just makes it look more consistent. All right, so I have my picture here. My text and my boxes. So I'm actually going to put those titles in. I'm going to change the color of my font. Because I'm zoomed in, my tools are hiding here, and I have to have it selected, but you may see them right on there. So we'll just change that up to white. There we go. And we're going to do this as Meditate by the Ocean. And again, because I want it to look consistent, I'm doing a lot of copying and pasting. It feels like I'm cheating here on a lot of things. It's working effectively, right? not necessarily cheating. So I go back to my curated list here. What do I have? Oh, color with some artists. Now again, I would probably spend a bit of time trying to make sure they're all aligned. It's a bad habit of mine. It gets faster as you go along, and that's really where having those templates is a great starting point. So if this is feeling overwhelming to you, on Bring the LLC Home, we have several templates, and we're trying to work on some others that you can access, and you can use that as a starting point if you're not comfortable with this piece just yet. How we doing? Questions, comments? Thanks for dropping that in, Jessica. Yep, they're just text boxes. So I just used my text box tool up here in the corner. And I'm, once I had that set for that first one, I am now copying and pasting so that all the boxes will have the same size font and text. Now, I want them to do the check-in on this last square. So I'm actually going to change the color of that square because I don't want them to think that that square is like all the other ones. I want them to notice that it's different. And I just noticed that's off. So I'm going to click on it and change the color just so that it stands out and that they kind of know that that's something different. I actually don't love that. I may make it something more fun. None of that looks fun, but we're going to go with it. Just so it kind of highlights and it stands out and they know that it's something, we draw their attention to it. So when I take my text over, and that's this piece that we were talking about with contrast. Obviously the white we can't see it on the black. So you really do want those contrasting colors so our friends can really notice. And let's say now, let's do a check-in. Yeah, so here's the thing. The black box in the background, sorry, I'm just gonna move this back down for a second and then we'll answer your question. I'm not typing in the box itself, I'm adding a text box. And again, different people have different workflows. So you definitely can just type in the box. For me, I wanna be able to control where things are. So that's why I do them separately, but it's really up to you. You could click in any box and just start typing and spacing it out. So I've used two separate objects. So I see this one has a text box and a square as two separate entities, but any shape can hold text too if that's easier for you. Questions, comments? Hopefully we've addressed some of them. Do we feel good so far? I want to give you a couple minutes if you're trying it out and you're messing about and you're trying to get your grid ready. Even starting with a three box grid is a great way to get started. If you're ready for me to go on, just give me a little thumbs up or drop a comment in the comment box. All good. Awesome. So far, so good. Hey, awesome stuff. Yes, you can definitely duplicate the slide and reuse it. So that's why while we're chatting, I'll just show you everyone while we're chatting here. I need that open. Oh, okay. So if you go to the site, and we can drop this in later. Again, if you go under the templates, Over here under more, there's a template section. So you can copy any of the templates and use them as tools. Great. So it seems like we're ready. So let's tackle one of the hardest questions, pictures. So there's lots of ways of inserting pictures into your grid. So I know that sometimes, I'm going to zoom out here just a bit so we can get to our add-ons. Okay. So one of the tools Mel and I use is the Noun project. We were able to add it to our add-ons. You can access it for free, but you can also subscribe, which we do. So we've been using the Noun project just to search for icons and to bring them in. Unfortunately for some folks, like especially for us in Peel, they've blocked those extensions. So I wanted to show you a couple other ways. So I'm just going to look for a calm symbol just to kind of show you how we do it. Oh, and the water. It's my way of love water for calm. So sunshine does it for me too. So I just fit that up in the top, and I'll just move this guy over just a little bit. So if you don't have the add-on, what could we do? So a few folks, we can really start with a lot of the built-in tools. So if I go into Insert and go into Image, I'm able to search the web right here. And Melanie will love that these are Creative Commons images. Images we have the rights to use. The downside is that they don't always give you exactly what you're looking for. Oh, Michelle, that's awesome. So why are they blocking the Noun project and not flat icon? Weird. Okay. So I can always take a picture and insert that. And one little trick we showed yesterday. So a couple little tricks. This picture doesn't really work. It's a great picture, but it's a bit too big. So if I double click on any picture, I get this little black outline, which means I can edit. So I can just quickly make that into a square for my section here. And I can make that smaller. Now, another thing is sometimes pictures seem like they don't fit. And a little trick to make it seem like it was on purpose or to kind of give it some definition is just to add a border to it. So if I add a little white border and up, it looks like it has a little frame and it looks purposeful there. Yeah, Lisa, if you use their website, they just put attribution on the bottom of each of them. I found navigating it as the add-on wasn't as helpful with the Noun project, but I'm going to check out Flat Icon. That's awesome.
And there is an educator account that you can get with the Noun project. I think it's $29.95. I paid for it, but I use it all the time, so it was worth the money for me.
The other thing, though, that we can use is there's built-in emojis. And I love emojis for a lot of things. You're going to see that in another time. Now, emojis actually work like text. So that's why I've stolen this little text box here. And if I go into Insert, let me know if you can see this. We'll do it twice. I'll maybe try to zoom in the next time. So if I go into Insert and Special Characters, and people probably already know this, instead of symbol, if I go to emoji, I have all the emoji options. So I can get my dancing emoji, and I don't know why it's just a man, but we'll go with that. And I probably have 100 emojis. I have a lot of dancing people in here. So emojis, because they're text, will work at the same size as text. So you just have to bump that size up to make the image a bit larger. So a really easy way, I don't have to go anywhere. It's built right within Google. So I'll show you that one more time, and I'm going to zoom in just so we can see it a bit better. So if I wanted my emoji check-in here, And maybe I just want, so let me just zoom in a little bit more so you can hopefully see the toolbar a bit better. Okay, can we see that toolbar? Oh, it's way too big. Delayed reactions. There we go. At least we can see insert now. So if I go into insert, I go down to special characters and I choose emojis. I am going to do people and emotions, and we'll do the neutral face for the check-in. I have to zoom back out to close that box off. So those emojis are a great way of bringing images in as well. Now, Bitmoji-wise, and I can't take credit. I learned this from other great folks that did it. They've used the Bitmoji extension, and my friend Liz is still my Bitmoji, so you can tell I don't use it that often. Great when it doesn't load. There we go. Color with some, oh, let's do the Earth Day one. So I can just right click to copy image, and I can come down here and I can paste it in. And Liz is going to be on my choice grid now. So 4 different ways of bringing in photos. Did I do 4? Yeah. The emojis, the Bitmojis, just using the Google image search, using one of the add-ons. To get your Bitmoji extensions, you're just going to go to the Chrome store. So in your browser, just open another window and Google Bitmoji extension, and usually your Chrome store pops up for you. There's tons of extensions. That's like a whole project in itself. We'll definitely post this video. Another little thing that we've been doing is we took the original tip video, and then we've been making these FAQ clips. So there's one that just looks at images. I haven't done that one yet. Melanie can correct me. We looked at sharing. I think we looked at transparent shapes, and we'll be making one on images. So if you just need those quick helps, those will be there for you too. And we'll make sure to share them tonight or tomorrow in our conversation. So let me take, so with your picture, up here in your toolbar, you have the pencil for your border. So just choose a color for your border. The first time though, it's set to be really small. So go to beside the pencil to the line, and you can decide the line width. You can get fancy and change the type of line, but I find for what we're doing, that solid line just gives it a little, it holds it in and makes it kind of grounds it a little bit. I'm glad the FAQ clips are helpful. They're those quick ones. Do you know what? The symbols is one of the things that as people were struggling, I realized the symbols are all there. It's a handy way of kind of grabbing an image quickly. And to me, I find the images are central for kids navigating the page, that they kind of have that quick visual along with the text that they can explore. Okay, any other questions? You feel good about pictures? We're ready for the transparent shapes and some of those fun links. So again, for the symbols, you need a text box. So symbols are text, and then I go into insert, special characters, and we had, by default, it will go to your fancy symbols, your arrows and all that jazz. I just switched it up to emojis. And I love that I can search, so I'm not sitting there looking with my old eyes squinting. The FAQ videos are on a couple places. So we've added them to a playlist, so they are on my YouTube channel, but we've actually embedded them with the template page on the website. So if you scroll down here to the bottom, you'll find the original video, and then if you click on the side, we're just keeping them all here so they're all in one spot. Yeah, Heather. So Bitmoji is weird. You do have to have an account with your device first. So you do have to have the app and play with the app first, and then you can log in online. It doesn't let you set up your account from the extension if you're really passionate about the Bitmojis. Okay, looking at time, we're going to go over the links if that's okay. So again, lots of ways of doing links. This is just my way. So I like, when I first started sharing, when the first choice grid I made, I found, just to show you here, you can't actually link images, which I find frustrating. Google should change that. So because I couldn't link images, people, if they didn't click on the words or the shape exactly, they sometimes had issues. So I wanted to make it simpler to navigate, and that's where we use the transparent shape. So I'm going to draw a shape right on top of the shape I have. So I'm just drawing right on top. It seems weird. You're like, Tina, what are you doing? And now I just want that to be transparent. So I don't want anybody to see it. So up in my fill bucket, I'm going to make it transparent. And in my line, I'm going to make it transparent. So it's just there. Nobody sees it, but it just holds the link for me. Again, I'm lazy, so I just copy and paste that guy to different spots, so I don't have to keep doing it. So once I have that transparent shape, I want to put the link on that shape. So I have my link here. So I'm just going to copy it. And I love that I can copy it right from here. So then when I come in, I have my shape here. I want to add that link on. I don't want to paste it in because it will put the link just in my shape. I'm going to right click, go to link, paste my link in and say apply. And now it's linked. I'll do that again. So I have my Get Grooving with Twitch. I pretend that I can actually, I have no rhythm whatsoever. I wish I did. But their grooves are fun and get your heart pumping. So here we go. I'm going to right click on a Mac, control click, link, paste, and don't forget to say apply. Exactly, Nadine. So by having the transparent shape, anything in that area will become the link. So it really smooths out that whole experience for folks that are interacting. I don't know why it does some Bitmojis. I found other people were able to link too. I don't know if it's because it's Google Slides instead of Docs. But yeah, I can't with my Bitmoji here. So it's the weirdest thing ever. Most tools let you do that. Like when I use Keynote, I can link anything. So it may just be something I'm missing. So anyone else? Before we get into linking to different options, works in Chromebook. Weird. It just doesn't like that I'm using a Mac, I guess. And I'm just hoping our computer, it should last 40%. Okay, maybe. That's pretty crazy if they're not letting me do it because I'm on a Mac. Hopefully they're not that mean, Diana. But it could be. Everything, there's always those small tweaks, right? And again, this is where Mel and I chatted yesterday. It really is what works for you. If a table works for you, if linking the words work for you, it's what works for you and your learners. For me, I went to the transparent shapes because I was having to resend links a lot. So this just made it simpler for me. Now, we talked about the fact that sometimes we want to check for understanding. And we don't want them necessarily to link everything or submit something for everything on a choice grid. That kind of, it's going to be overwhelming for you to assess and for our kids to explore. But again, for this little reset, I do want to do a check-in. So my check-ins are actually on my Google Classroom, and it really depends on, oh, link one more time. Okay, so I have my link I've saved. I'm going to copy the link, And then in my shape, I'm going to right-click, link, and paste it in. Don't forget to hit that yellow apply where the link isn't stuck to your shape yet. Yeah, Lisa, I know sometimes it's those little tricks that we find over time, eh? So a lot of you asked about how do we make those connections? How do we submit work? And there's so many different ways of doing it. So for a check-in, if you, and you guys can drop in what you're using as your home base. I know some of you are using Google Sites as teacher librarians. If you are using a Google Classroom, just a reminder that any of your pieces have a direct link. So especially if I'm doing this with grade 2s and grade 3s, and parents are navigating and they're trying to find where they're supposed to go for that week, any of your options have a link that I can bring to my choice grid. So I've already created a little emoji check-in here in my Google Classroom. So I'm going to click on those 3 dots at the end of that post, and I'm going to copy a link. So in my choice grid, when I link, I'm going to paste that and apply. So now when they click on it, it's going to take them straight to that question that's in my Google Classroom. So they don't need to navigate through Classwork. They're going to go straight to that question, and they can vote and see what we're feeling like as a class. Now, the same thing is true of a Google assignment. Anything in Google Classroom can be linked. So I'll do that one more time, and then we'll come back to the Google form, Jennifer, because that's the next thing we're going to show. You know your kids best, and you know how they're going to navigate best. So for people that said everybody in their class, you want to give them a copy, there's 2 ways of doing it. So I could take a file, let's just do our increase cycle, and I could share, and I'm going to share it, and I'm going to set it that anyone with a link can edit. I don't actually want them to edit, but I want to force a copy for everyone. This is the point in the evening that if you feel good with your choice grid, don't stress about this part. This is for some people that have been exploring a little bit more and want to go that extra step. So if I'm in grade 1 and I just have a template and I want them just to be able to access the template, they're not navigating the classroom per se, I may just force a copy for everyone. So when I save that link, when I link it, let's just do it up here so we can show it. When I paste my link in, oh, I did the shape. Good when I mess up. Okay. So I'm going to show you up here just so we can see a bit better. And it focuses. No, that's not going to show you any better. Let's do it here in our page. So when I get a link, at the end of the link, it says edit down here. If I take that off and put copy, it will force a copy for each learner. So everybody that clicks on that will get their own version of the document I created. So that's one option. The other option is to link to your classwork and assign a copy to all your students. That's easier because you'll be able to track it over time. So many possibilities with links, but coming back to the Google form idea, if I wanted to do a check-in, so this is a grid that I've been playing with. This is a new thing, Mel, to see what you think. So somebody had requested structures as a theme for a grid. So I was just trying to play around with, we were playing around with an idea of, we don't want them just to explore, we want them to build, but then I need that assessment piece. I want to do that check-in. So that's why we also wanted to really reinforce that cyclical piece about cycles, and that inquiry is a cycle. So I wanted to kind of have those circles interacting. So one thing you can do is you can link to other slides. So if this helps your kids navigate, and I'm just going to make a clear, transparent circle here. to be my clicker. And again, these are the fancy things, and we'll make this all into little FAQs. So one thing to remember is as a link, you can also link to other slides. So I can actually link to slides in a presentation if that helps them navigate. The other thing, though, I could do is I could link to a Google form as my reflection tool. So I'm just going to bring that over here. So I've already created an exit ticket. And this is another workshop if we want to talk about it. And I've put that they can give me one file, and I've limited it to one file. So I don't end up with 30. I just want them to show me one thing they really liked. And I love that I have typos here. Then I have one thing that they learned and one question they have, so that can help guide me. So with my Google form, I can go to send, grab that link, shorten that because it's long, and I can link that into my choice grid. Again, that form is nice because I can kind of get them submitting, and especially for those of you in primary or in the library, it's a way for us to capture what they're thinking without having to use drop boxes or maybe things that are a bit hard to explain while we're far away. So now if I just present that so you can see, I can click right on reflect, and it takes them straight to that Google form. The sky's the limit when you look at links. Anything you can get a link for, you can bring into that choice grid. Really, again, it's how are you checking for understanding? How are we getting that triangulation of evidence? How are we bringing the pieces together? Okay, I'm gonna come back. Yeah, Kelly, if you're doing, I'm gonna try to get some of these questions. Hey, I'm gonna try a new tool. Hopefully you guys are game. Jennifer, I love that you think it's great for the creative arts process. And yeah, I'm gonna show the video part. Sorry about that. Kelly, let's see if we can see it there. Kelly, you're so right. As a teacher librarian, that force a copy eliminates them having to come into another classroom. Or the Google form, again, can exist outside another space. So we're not forcing kids into hundreds of spaces to try to find anything. So Jamboard. Jamboard's a little, is similar because it works like other Google tools. Just zooming out here, people, sorry. So one of the downsides to Jamboard is that Jamboard anybody can edit. So definitely an option if you're working with a small group. If you're working with the whole school, it would be probably a bit harder. So I would maybe use Mentimeter where it consolidates because you can do a link and you can moderate, Padlet, but definitely a great idea even just to share. So because Jamboard is like any other tool, you have your share options. And again, you can decide how people access it. So I can decide that they can just view it, they can edit it. So for those of you that haven't explored Jamboard before, Jamboard's a sticky note tool. You can bring in pictures. I wonder if I can do this in a glamorous way, but we'll see. My email is not very helpful to you guys, eh? I'm just going to my personal one so you can see a bit more the options. Joyce had a fantastic example with her kids with their photo walks. It was beautiful. Oh, I have it. Joyce, is it okay if I share it? If you're still on? Okay, I'll show one of mine. If you are on and you want to jump in, we can show it. Oh, thanks, Joyce. So this was one we did for Digit.to, and then we got stuck and we couldn't actually use it. So I'm able to take sticky notes. and I'm able to bring in pictures and put it all together. I'm also able to have different boards. So think if you're reading a book and you're reading through chapters, or you have different characters and you want to comment, doing a little online book club. So let me just show you Joyce's, because it was a great way to capture all their thinking. So her kids, her friends went on a shape walk, and as her kids went on a shape walk, they shared what they found and they posted the picture. So a great way of collecting. Again, we can't limit who edits other people's stuff. So you don't want to use it with like 500 kids. That being said, Jason Trin posted an amazing video that said you can assign Jamboards. So instead of linking to the whole Jamboard, I can assign it as an assignment if I had like a structure or a graphic organizer, and I can take it back that way. Don't know if I actually answered your question, Kaida. So again, Kelly, if it's a picture, a Jamboard works great for that if we're just collecting our photo walk. If it is something, especially in the library learning commons, if you're doing a whole group of students and you want them to drop off videos, Google Forms has a file upload option. So if you're in a Google Classroom, definitely use the assignment option. But if you're in a shared space or you're planning time, the Google Forms are a great way to collect without creating another space for kids. Okay, couple questions. So Heather, you said the link part again. I'm just going to add one more slide here so we have a third slide. We'll put that there. So if I want to link a slide, I'm just going to do my shape over here, and I'm going to take that link off. So when I right click and I link, see on the bottom there, it says slides in this presentation, and you can actually choose the slide that you want to link it to. So we've been pasting our link in, but you can use those slide options as well. Works the same in Google Sites. So I know one of the pieces, Linowit's a great option too. There's so many possibility. Diana's question. Diana, I missed your question. Again, Diana, it works exactly like the other Google tools. So if you create a link that says anyone with the link can access, you bypass them having to log into their Google account. You can, if you use the Google Classroom option, you can force a copy to every student, and then it would be in their Google account. They can even just use it themselves. It has a great drawing tool. And Joyce found a really cool Canvas app with Google today. So even if you're just trying to do some explaining, or kids want to be able to explain their math and their thinking, it's a great option as well. The hard piece when we talk about how we collect that work is there's so many options. I feel it could just be a chat in and of itself. And it's matching your practice and what you're exploring. So just a piece, I'm going to just take this one out because people talked about videos. So Google Slides now allows you to embed a video. So it will go to YouTube, or I can even go to my Google Drive. Hopefully I don't have any weird looking videos on here. Sure, why not? We use Photoshop Mix to make flying pigs. So if I select that, I can, and I can resize it so it fits inside my grid. So you can definitely have that video at the beginning of your choice grid that kind of gives your message. That's where a lot of us have talked about using Apple Clips. We can kind of put that right into our choice grid. Awesome. Okay, last piece. We have 3 minutes before the hour is up. Whew. Okay, so we have this fancy choice grid. How do we share it? And there's many ways. Again, the easiest option is we just share and we share the presentation. It's great when I haven't named it. Oops. Let's just click in the box so it resets that name. Oh, it doesn't want to do it for me today. So if I go to share, I can get a shareable link. And again, right now it says anyone in Peel. If I go to more, I can say anyone with the link. Like I said, it seems, and it's weird being on Secondment. I'm just, I'm on the outside looking in. It seems like, at least in Peel, kids aren't able to see things from other places. But it does make it easier if parents are logged into their Google accounts that they just get the link right away. When I share that though, kids come into this view and I really just want them to be able to click right on it. I don't want them to have to come, hit present, or click on a box twice. So that's why I use the present option. So if you go to file again, and we go down to underneath the trash bin, it says publish to the web. Publishing to the web means this will go straight into present view. And I found a couple people online had shortcuts again with that URL of putting preview at the end or present at the end. So this was just my strategy. It's always been my workflow. But if you found another one, that's awesome. And the difference, just to show you, when I link a slide to that publish to web, is that it goes straight into this view where they can click. So the kids and the parents, oh, should have just done one, never really need to know that this was made in slides. They just get to start navigating. This is a great reminder. I'm glad I messed up. So anything you put on your choice grid, it doesn't automatically have the settings. So what Mel and I have done is we've put everything in the same folder, and we've made the folder to be open to anyone with the link so that we don't have to keep worrying about changing the settings for every object that we make. Okay, sure. Window, let's reset Google Slides. Okay. So in my Google Slides, if I go File, Publish to the Web, it brings me to this page here. The first time you're going to get a little yellow symbol that says Publish, and then I get this link. What that does is it turns it into a website view. Yeah, Tracy, why don't I do that with our other one so you can see? So in this one here, for example, we have our 3 slides. So if I publish to the web, I'm going to make sure I'm publishing. I can take that link. Publishing to the web will automatically update, same as your Google link will. So you don't need to worry about updating it or publishing it often. It will just continually update based on your changes. So you can see here, they can use the clicking to navigate. So I could go, but since I didn't set it up yet, I can use my arrows on the bottom there to navigate my slides as well. So when I do a clickable slideshow like this, I usually put a little back button on the bottom so that they can use it so they don't have to go back down here. But yeah, it works just like a slideshow. It gets them out of that whole Google Slides and all the options and gets them straight into navigating. Great question. So what we've done for Google Sites is we actually use the insert option. So in a Google site, wrong one. Let's see if I can find it. Okay. Nope. Sorry, people. Too many tabs. Oh my goodness. How am I messing this up? Hey, there we go. Okay. So I have my LLC website. I'm just going to go into edit mode. So you can definitely use the embed code. And Jennifer, remind me, I'm going to come back to your question. So when I go to insert, and remind me not to publish, Mel. So if I go into insert and I go into my drive or go down here to slides, Google Sites is smart enough to know that you're in a site and you don't want the whole piece. So when I click on it and insert, it automatically goes into that published preview mode. So you don't really have to do anything fancy there. Okay, coming back to the questions. Any of the changes made, just like a Google file, just like when we share the file link, will come to the update. Jennifer, around links, the only links that aren't, the only links I need to worry about are files. So any of these links, they'll work no matter what. So I'm good. If I'm just curating access to things that are available online, I'm rocking it. But if I'm trying to give them a Google Doc that I want them all to have a copy on, if I want to share a video that I put into my Google Drive, that's when you need to worry about your file sharing options. So if I'm just curating websites on the sites on the web, I'm completely fine. I don't need to worry about anything. I'm rocking because they're already available. I only need to worry about that setting if it's files that I have in my Google Drive. Laura, same thing with Google Classroom. It's up to you. I would put the link into my stream or into my Classwork so that they see that front and center, and then link to the other pieces. But you know your kids best. I don't know if it would work for their workflow or be helpful. So Tracy, you definitely can see the other slides. So if you don't want them to see it, I don't think publishing to web, you want to put those slides in another file. Again, for me, let me see if I can pull it up. We were playing with one for space. Oh, here it is. But I like the newer design. I don't know what you think, Mel. So we were playing with this one for space. So again, if they went to the publish to web option, publish to web file. Oh, this is still closed to PL. So if I go to publish to web, so one of the things I did with this one is I've created links within so that they don't necessarily have to use those buttons on the bottom. So I'll just show you that quickly and pop in any last questions. I know we're over our time. There's so many possibilities with designing in slides and bringing some of that routine that maybe you're used to in the classroom with, while also providing that choice and that voice. So in here with the Spark, I just added a little back button and I put it in the worst possible spot. But that back button can help them navigate all of the pages. I feel like I missed questions. We had a bigger group here tonight. Thanks for joining us. So we have had requests. DM me if you have something you want to do next. I know some friends wanted us to look at Google Sites and just some of the tips and tricks with Google Sites. We could look at Google Forms. We could look at something like Adobe Spark. We can just have fun and do a little sketchnoting night. It's really up to you guys what you want. Next Wednesday, I have a little bit of a conflict. So I'll put that maybe as a poll too if you want to do it. Maybe we can do it Thursday instead. Or we're doing a photography session with the Intelligent Hoodlums from Vegas. So if you're interested in that, that's happening on Tuesday too. Oh, Thursday I can't. Thursday we're doing the follow-up to this if you guys wanted to hang out. Bring those questions on. Sites would be awesome. So maybe next week. Yeah, I don't know how to fit it in next Wednesday. So unless people are up for something at 9 o'clock, but I'm guessing that's too late for some. Mel would be Mel would be bailing. I'm glad you guys are enjoying it. Sketchnoting. Awesome. Thanks for joining us, Lynn. Anything Google. Awesome. Tips and tricks. Okay, we'll do a couple polls this week then and see what the next one is. If we don't have an Appy Hour next week, will definitely be the following Wednesday. The night is young at 9. Okay, maybe we can do sites next week. I promised a Coca-Cola, obviously. See you guys. Have a great rest of the night.